Okay, I thought I'd give you a bit of a run through of our Prado. I mean, it's really set up for touring. It's got the rooftop tent up on top. In the front seats, we've got our favourite camo Superfit seat covers. We've got a bit of storage up on the back of this cargo barrier, and you might ask, well, what is a cargo barrier doing directly behind the front seats? Well, I've actually made a few mods that I put in here when I'm touring, and as you can see here, I've actually installed two shelves. One down the bottom, one up the top, and the cargo barrier actually helps support the weight of the two shelves. And in the back there, I've actually got the original cargo barrier, which I've framed off of to form that kind of box structure that supports everything. So in the back there, I've got my solar panels if we're stopped for a while, my auto fix for finding any faults that might occur. Up the front here, I've got a little map pocket, some solar leads and various other things. But up here generally is where we store our personal belongings and our foodstuffs that we use on our trips. Down in behind here, you can see that I've got a water tank which sits across in the footwells, and that's a 40 litre water tank. And down here, it's a big open air storage area, which originally I made just to suit a double swag because they take up so much room and I didn't want to put it on the roof. Up the back there, I've got another water container just in case I need a little bit extra. But we're generally pretty frugal on the water, but on our longer trips, I'll normally put 10 or 20 litres in here just as a bit of a backup. Underneath here, you can see there's also more storage. And up inside there I keep two plastic boxes which have all my little spares, things like gasket makers and glues and silicons and all sorts. In underneath I've got some tyre levers in case I need to get a tyre off. So lots of things that are packed in here, utilising every little bit of space. If we go around to the back here, again, these are just homemade drawers that I built up myself, and in the back here, the bottom one tends to keep all my spares and other useful things like duct tape and cable cutters, a saw, gloves, grease. Got my WD-40. I've got flying insect killer, a little inverter in case I need it. Tyre plugs and whatnot down inside there, a bit of brake oil, yeah, look, just all sorts of things that might come in handy on our trips. And the top one is effectively our pantry. So in here we've got our favourite little jet boil and a few bits and pieces, dishwashing liquid, oil, cups, gas cylinders. We've got a billy. The jet boil sits down inside the billy to save that space. Our sink. Inside there we've got knives and forks and fry pans, alfoil, all those little things that you need, other implements, spices. So that takes up a bit of room. Up on the top shelf, I've got barbecue plates, camp ovens. I've got a compressor mounted in the back there in that box, and inside this bag is the airline. I've got first aid kits, survival first aid kits that I take everywhere. I've got a second fire extinguisher up the back there. I've got recovery gear. I've got all sorts in here, from soft shackles to kinetic tow ropes. I've got a water hose. I've got more solar, solar charging leads and bits and pieces. I've got some jump leads. I've got a rescue swag in there. And down on this side, I've got everything from spare oil and spare radiator fluid. And inside here, I've got a couple of little aluminium chairs, which also serve as tables around the campfire, and a bit of a tarp here just in case I need to get under the car. And here's my ever faithful Bushman fridge. Fits in there nicely. The only issue I had with this was when I originally built this cupboard setup, I wasn't expecting to have a fridge that opened to the side. So it is a little bit inconvenient here in that when you do have this drawer out open, the fridge door doesn't really sit up here by itself of its own accord. So I stuck a little magnet up here, which if you're in the right position, it'll hold the door open while you're fossicking around inside the fridge. On the other side, you can see, whoa, look at this. We've got a little a water tap here with a switch on it. And this is where we get our water from that we use, well, we use for any purpose when we're out camping or making a cup of tea or whatever. This is an isolator switch for the compressor in there. And what I do is, instead of messing around running big extra cables, what I do is I plug into the cable underneath here, into the socket underneath here with the cable, and then plug that into here, and that powers up my air, I was going to say air conditioner, but it's my air compressor. And I guess it just saves a little bit of time. And I don't have to get the compressor out. I've got enough hose there to go to both whatever's I may or may not be towing, but also the 4 wheels on the car. So yeah, look, it's worked for us, and it's worked pretty well. The seats, they go up in there, in that empty space up there. And if we come around this side, into this side of the car, down here you can see this is what powers the water, or not what powers, what supplies the water. A little 12-volt pump which I've hooked up onto this Moab tank, and that water runs up through the back via hoses to that tap. So look, it's a really handy little setup. I mean, yeah, these bars up here do tend to get in the way a little bit sometimes if you want to use up that space, but we tend to only have softer stuff up here, so it's not such an issue. We've even got a little table stored around on this side, in here on the cargo barrier. We've got these little hooks that are on the back of the headrest here, which are really handy for just hanging things off of. And again, underneath this side, I've got a car bra if we're doing any water crossing. I've got a mozzie repellent thingy, and again, up in this side, another 2 plastic boxes with everything from a drill and other spare parts, spare bolts, all sorts of things that I might use for some reason whilst we're traveling. So pretty well, that's our setup, and as I said, it works pretty well. We haven't changed that much over time, and I think the biggest change is now this double rear wheel carrier that we've just had put on the back, so I'm hoping that goes well and doesn't rattle too much, and most of all stays in place and keeps our 2 spare wheels nice and secure. So yeah, thanks a lot for taking a look, and we'll be taking off pretty soon on another trip, so yeah, enjoy.